In this video, we want to look at the different types of genotypes that we have and the genotypes that are compatible for marriage. Hello everyone, you're welcome to this edition on Body Gist. We'll be looking at the different types of genotypes that we have and the genotypes that are compatible for marriage. That is the genotypes that are compatible to form a couple. I am Sister Augusta. If you are new on our channel, ensure you click on the subscribe button, turn on your notifications so that you always get notified when we upload new videos. This is me saying thank you to all our returning subscribers. For those of you just joining us, you can also follow us on all our other platforms. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Do not go away. We'll be right back. Mainly, we have two types of chromosomes. We have the sex chromosome and the non-sex chromosome. The sex chromosome is the one that determines our sex. That is, either we are a male or a female. While the non-sex chromosome determines every other thing about us. Now, it is the non-sex chromosome that carries this genotype. So that is why we say that whether we are having the normal type of gene, which is the AA, or we are a carrier, which is the AS, or we have the sickled type of gene, which is the SS, it is not determined by our sex. It does not determine whether we are a male or a female. Individuals with AA genotype are considered to have the normal type of genotype. Let's not forget that they have two copies of the normal type of genotype, which is the A and the A. And at every time they give birth or they get married to the other person, they are likely to transmit this copy of their gene to their offspring. Now, individuals with the AS type of genotype have two copies of gene, one copy of the normal type of genotype, which is the A, and one copy of the abnormal type of genotype, which is the S. These persons are regarded as trait carriers. They are carriers of a muted gene or carriers of an abnormal gene. Now, the individuals with SS type of genotype are known as persons who are having the sickle cell disease. They are no longer carriers. They now have the disease because they have two copies of this abnormal type of gene or genotype. Now, let us look at individuals who are considered compatible to form a couple with their different types of genotype. Let us begin with the genotype AA that we know as the normal type of genotype. If two individuals who have the genotype AA and another individual who has genotype AA forms a couple, there is an 100% chance that they are going to give birth to children who have the genotype AA. So these individuals are considered compatible. An individual who has genotype AA, a man, maybe for example a man who has the genotype AA and the woman has the genotype AA, these two people are considered compatible to form a couple, because when they form a couple, their offspring they are going to give birth to children who have the genotype AA. They have a 100% chance of doing this. Now, let us look at the second possibility. Let's say, for example, a man who has the genotype AA and is going to get married to a woman who has the genotype AS. They have a 50% chance of giving birth to children who have the genotype AA. They also have a 50% chance of giving birth to children who have the genotype AS. Let's not forget that the genotype AS are regarded as carriers of a sickle cell trait. So these couples are also considered compatible. An individual with genotype AA and an individual with genotype AS are also considered compatible because they have a 50% chance of giving birth to children who have the genotype AA, and they also have a 50% chance of giving birth to children who have the genotype AS. Now, let us look at an individual who has the genotype AA forming a couple with an individual who has the genotype SS. These persons, when they form a couple, they have a 100% chance of giving birth to children who have the genotype AS. So it means that all their children will have the genotype AS because of their formation. If the husband is AA and the husband is SS, so there is an 100% chance of giving birth to children who have the genotype AS. Let's not forget that the genotype AS is considered as a trait carrier. So somehow they are compatible. Now, an individual who has the genotype AS getting married to an individual who has the genotype AS. This is mostly where the problem is. An individual who has the genotype AS and an individual who has the genotype AS, when they get married, there is a 50% chance of giving birth to children who have the genotype AS. I mean, there is a 50% chance of giving birth to children who have the genotype AS, and this genotype AS is considered as a trait carrier. There is 25% chance of giving birth to children with the genotype AA. That is 25% chance of giving birth to children who have the genotype AA. This is considered as the normal genotype. There's also a 25% chance of giving birth to children with the genotype SS. Yes, there's a 25% chance of giving birth to children who have the genotype SS, and this is the sickle cell carriers. Sickle cell disease. This is the sickle cell disease, persons who have the genotype SS. And this 25% chance have the opportunity of playing out at every time the couple gives birth, as every time the woman conceives and gives birth. There's every likelihood that this 25% chance might play out. And this is the reason why people who have the genotype AS are not considered compatible. That is, two individuals with genotype AS are never considered as compatible when it comes to the issue of genotype. And these two people should never get married, because there's every possibility that they might give birth to children who have the genotype SS, and it is known as the sickle cell disease, because they might just be bringing children into the world. Children with sickle cell disease are already predisposed to different kinds of diseases because of their genotype. So the next people who we want to consider are persons with genotype AS and people with genotype SS. Can they get married? The answer is no. They cannot get married. They can't form a couple, because they have 50% chance of giving birth to children who have the genotype AS and 50% chance of giving birth to children with genotype SS. We do not want to consider giving birth to children with the genotype SS, because this is already predisposing them to life-threatening illnesses and diseases, and their chances of survival are minimal. Then the last group are persons who have genotype SS and people with genotype SS. It is a no-go area, because they have 100% chance of giving birth to children with a sickle cell disease, and we do not want to bring children into this world knowing that their life is already at risk from the beginning of their birth. Now, the focus of this video is to talk about persons who have the genotype AS. They can't form a couple. An individual with genotype AS can't form a couple with another individual with genotype AS. This is because they have a 25% chance of giving birth to a child or children, of giving birth to children who have the sickle cell disease. And this 25%, the problem is that this 25% might play out at every pregnancy or at every conception. If they give birth to, if they get married, it might be that at every of their conception, they will give birth to a child who have the sickle cell disease, so they can't form a couple. Let's not forget that the individuals with the genotype AS are carriers of the sickle cell trait. So when two of the S gene meet, they can form the sickle cell disease. I hope we have been enlightened. This is me saying thank you to all of us who have watched this video to the end. If you found value for this video, do not forget to give us a thumbs up and share this video with your loved ones. You might be saving a life. Thanks for following us on Body Gist. I still remain Sister Ozo Augusta. Keep following us for more healthy gist.